Hello and welcome to another edition of the Go podcast. I'm your host as always, Kel Quinn, and joining me today is a man who needs no introduction. It's United's most famous fan, Pete Boyle. How you doing, Pete?
I'm all right, thank you.
It's great to have you on the show. I must say, I've been going to Old Trafford for since I was 12 years old, and that's nearly 20 years ago. And there hasn't been an occasion where I haven't seen you on match day, either in the pub or making your way to the ground with your son. You're always very visible on match day.
Yeah, it sometimes has its negative things because now and again I want to have a low profile, and unless I put a hat on, and even then I can get recognised. I remember being at Anfield for the John O'Shea game, and it was quite a hot day like today, and I had one of those Canada Goose coats up, zipped up to there, like so. Really, you could only see my face, that part of my face, and I'm walking through Stanley Park because obviously a lot of the scouts recognised me. And then I heard this voice just go, "Got any spares, Pete?" And I went, "No." But you can only see that little part of my face, and you still recognise my frame. You know what I mean?
So people approach you in match days and ask for Spurs.
It was like if it's an away game, and you're at everyone struggles for away tickets. So someone's always going to say, "Have you got a spare, Pete?" Or you say it to anyone coming down the road, they recognise really because either they've not got one or the mate's not got one. I said, these people travel to away games without tickets, so just hope you're getting one. And you see someone like me, and they recognise my name, so they'll probably ask anyone they recognise, really.
Somebody told me once that you drive the bus to away games. Is that correct?
No, no. I used to run coaches to away games. My own coach for quite a few years, the Boyle bus, where we used to take a scenic route, and had some great memories down the years. But the trouble was, in the end, we couldn't really remember the football because say we were playing Newcastle away, and it was a 4 o'clock kickoff. My coach would leave Manchester at 6 a.m. and I'd have a pub arranged in North East for 9 o'clock. And this was sometimes before all the opening of pubs was official, so pubs didn't open until 11 or 12, especially on a Sunday. So I'd arrange a pub somewhere up in the North East, a couple of regular pubs, and I'd say, "I've got 50 lads on the coach here. Get there, we'll all buy breakfast, and in those 2 or 3 hours before you open to the public, we'll have on average 4 pints each. Some will have 7 pints, some will have 3 pints, but on average." So we get a pub and they realise it's a no-brainer. But then what on our coach, people were still drinking when we left at 6 in the morning. So by the time we got to Newcastle, to the North East, Newcastle, Sunderland, even Borough, we're all really half cut. So we got to the game. A couple of lads said to me, my age, he said, he had to stop going on the coach. He loved it, but it finished him for the week. They going in work on Monday, Tuesday, they couldn't cope, and then also they just didn't remember the game. So it was drawing a ballot. I mean, it attracted certain people because it was more than just going on a coach for a football match. It was a real good day out. We'd all get up singing and laughing, singing along to the songs on the tape, on the coach and all that. But it got to the stage where it ran its course, really. Now, there is other coaches that go to the games and probably do similar of a younger age group. But at the time, we were a bit of an alternative thing. We used to leave ridiculously early or sometimes stop off en route on the way back and that. And we had some great days, but I had to watch the DVDs of the season to remember the games properly, really.
So, how have you coped not being able to go to games for a year and a half now, apart from the Fulham match?
Yeah, it's been difficult. It's been not difficult because it's not the same, and it's hard in the early days. I remember like when the first games that were allowed back was like the German league. I love Germany as a country. I love German football. I love the culture of the fans. I love the way the clubs are run and all that as a general rule. But I don't really follow the league that closely. And we watched the first game, and there was the players on the bench were separated, but with social distancing, and there was no fans and crowd noises. And to be honest with you, I lost interest during the first game of that. And then we played some good stuff at some time. We had some good results, United, but it isn't the same. It's good, like seeing Bruno and he's having such a good season, and seeing like Cavani come in, and it's just not the same, is it? You know, I mean, the clubs know about the players want to play in front of a packed house, but part of me was thinking, I've enjoyed the time off. I got a bit bored, but you know, during lockdown, I've sort of like spent some good family time and got myself fitter and things like that. But the football, I've missed going to the game. And Fulham, although Fulham was good and Poland was good apart from the end result, we had a great day out. I just think that I'd rather go back when it's. I'm not really. I wanted to go back to full ground. I know, you know, I'm all for getting everyone safe and all that, but it's not the same if you have 10,000 or 20,000. Or if you want to go to Old Trafford, I want Old Trafford to be. I want to go back to a bit more normality, and I have missed it, but it's been harder to sort of to watch it and enjoy it when there's been no fans there. Even though I love United, the only upside is sometimes if it's been a bad result, you can switch the telly off and roll home and say, right, I'm going to bed, I've got work in the morning, rather than travel home. But yeah, I think it'll make people appreciate it more when we go back, appreciate the banter we used to have and that, you know, this meeting in the pub and the coaches and the trains to away games. So I have missed it, and my lad's missed it as well. He really wants to, you know, the fixtures come out, you're excited and you think, well, we'll be able to go like. So it's been a strange time for the world, but I think we need to, you know, get everyone safe and then get like full crowds back.
Yeah, I suppose some fans are better than no fans, but we've seen during the Euros there in Budapest and in Copenhagen what full stadiums are like, and it was so fantastic to see that again. And I hope we get to see that in England very shortly.
Well, yeah, I mean, even to be fair, the England game against Germany, I mean, it wasn't full, but you know, as my lad says to me, you know, you saw the limbs when they scored, and you know, you think that you know they made a pretty good atmosphere for being half the ground, whatever. But yeah, look, at the end of the day, people, you know, the safety of the world has got to come first. People, you know, there's a lot of people out there who are anti-vax and all that, but people have been dying at the end of the day. I know someone who's died himself for it. So you got to get everyone safe, and you know, just if it's going to put people in danger, then yeah, we don't go back yet. But if we can get once we think we're in the all clear, I think people will still take more precautions. People will be cleaner in the world. You know, people will be sort of like, you know, I think some things have come out of it good, like, you know, people should sanitize their hands all the time. You know what I mean? But it is going to be weird, isn't it? It's going to be weird when you do have a full crowd, and, well, you know, because I think some people are always going to wear masks out of habit. It's become norm, hasn't it? Having a mask has become a norm. You go, I've got my keys, got my phone, got my mask. Match day, and it's been quite funny how some people have turned it into a commercial initiative with people obviously selling masks online and all that, and you know, the clubs themselves sort of like put the crest on the masks, and but yeah, I mean, you know, we're football fans at the end of the day, and we want to go back and watch football, and it's not just football; it's been sport all over. My daughter's been she does synchronized swimming, and she's been affected by it in a big way. It's going to be a very big year, like with lots of big important trials and games coming up. So I think lots of sports have suffered, and some might not recover, and obviously smaller clubs might not recover. But we've got to look positive, look forward, and look at, you know, the good side of things. You know, like they've finally signed Sancho, and looks like we might be in for other players. Just a shame that we couldn't have just picked up that trophy for Ollie to get the monkey off his back, so to speak, because it was there for the taking, and it was a disappointing way to lose. But you've got to think positive and onwards and upwards, and I always look forward to a new season. It'll be a big season. I think Chelsea are going to be Chelsea, and I think Liverpool will be back. Chelsea will be challenging for the title. So, and obviously City are going to try and retain the title. So there's not much margin for error. I mean, top four is not guaranteed at the moment. But really, as a United fan, I don't want to start a season saying, let's hope we can make the top four and have a good run. as a Manchester United fan, it's not arrogance, but you want to be challenging for the league. And what's frustrating about the season just gone is, on paper, yeah, we came second and all that. But the games we lost, it's the lower teams. Do you know what I mean? We had a chance of the league. If we're not those silly results, and I know it always happens in football, but we shot ourselves in the foot big time, didn't we?
Yeah, definitely those losses to like Sheffield United at home and drawn with West Brom, and other results like that just weren't good enough. So what do you think about this current United side under Ollie? Do you think Ollie can win silverware as manager, or are you not sure?
I think, if I'm being brutally honest, I said this to someone today, actually, like, a lot of people never thought Mourinho was the man for United. And the argument would be maybe that the time to get Mourinho would have been as Fergie retired, because he was still Mourinho was still on the reputation as a winner. And he probably the only one who had the ego to sort of take over from someone like Fergie. When Mourinho took over United, I still thought it was a good appointment. I hold my hands up, right? I thought he would bounce back because he'd been wounded by being sacked by Chelsea again. And I thought he was going to be perfect to come in and prove that he's still got it as a manager. Hindsight's a wonderful thing. But in hindsight, I think maybe like Wenger, the game's moved on a lot from managers like Mourinho and Wenger. And it wasn't to be. Saying that, when Jose got sacked, for the same reason, but I wouldn't want Eric or Keane or Robbo, I wouldn't have really wanted Ollie as manager, because I always think it might go wrong in the end. You don't want to tarnish your heroes' memories as great players if they fail as a manager. So I always support the manager, whether it's been like, first, it's Tommy Docherty, Sexton, Atkinson, Fergie, Moyes, Van Gaal, Mourinho, and now Ollie. I'll always support the manager. I miss Giggs because he was only temporary manager. But once he'd got the job, I thought, yeah, it was a short-term thing. But I actually do think we've made really, really good progress. I'm not just saying that he's a nice guy, I like Ollie. It surprised me. He's moulded a team. He's got a way of playing. He's got the best out. He's shown a lot of character after some bad results. I mean, I think the first season he took over in the November, December, and then we started off great. But after PSG away, the season just went gradually, very quickly downhill. I think it resulted in the lowest point when we lost the Cardiff final game of the season. So really, that was the centre. And we didn't start the next season great, but he's shown, they've stuck by him, and he's stuck by certain players. He's offloaded players that needed offloaded. Nice guys, but he's offloaded them. Probably a couple more we all know need to go, but he's given other people a chance. And I think we've made some really good progress. It doesn't mean that I agree with everything he does. Not at all, but I didn't agree with everything Ferguson did or all the other managers. You make decisions, you think, wow, and we're all experts. We're all tactical experts now. I still think they made an error I do think they made an error in the penalties. I think I would have brought Henderson on, and I thought the other coaches could have jumped in as well. I thought, but De Gea's been a great servant, been a great keeper, and he's getting a lot of over the top criticism when he's kept us in many games in the last 10 years. But I just thought, coming on psychologically, I thought the team could have been changed a few times towards the end of the season more positively. But like I said, he'll take the fall. I just think we do need to win something, more so to get all the cranks off the internet who are just like always, they change their position each week, and to give fuel to the fire of the fraud fan cams and all that, who they change. You get a good result, and they're all Ollie in, and then it's like I know that hopefully the people that matter are going to be interested in what these people are saying, but it really it divides the fans. And I know plenty of match-going fans who don't want Ollie, and they've said to me several times, I think he's out of his depth. And then some of them have changed their mind again and said, actually, I've been anti-Ollie, but I've got to give him credit the way we've done this, that, and the other. We've got, we have beaten some bigger teams. That was used to be the finger through, and I didn't beat that. We have beaten some big teams last season. We did, another good win at City. We beat Liverpool in the cup, obviously, and I just think that I can see. The point is, if we get rid of Ollie, well, it depends who you bring in, but the project, so to speak, starts again. We've got the moulding of a team there. We've got a player, Sancho. You can't back a manager with someone like Sancho, and maybe someone else he's hopefully going to bring in, and then just scrap the plan and get rid of him, because whoever the new manager is, as good as Sancho might be, as good, they might not want to play, but they might not see anything in McTominay, they might not see anything in Bruno. And we do, but they just might not see that. And I just think that I think there's a feel-good factor amongst the playing staff at the club, but I think we've got to take it to the next level. And I think Ollie can do it, but without talking like a cliched reporter, I think this season is a big one. We can't be seen to not progress from where we've gone this season. I think we've blown it for 2 years running now. 2 years of we could have won a trophy. We really, we got to the semis the year before, 2-7. I just think that just to get people off his back, we need to win something. But I do believe Ollie. Again, I'm not saying I would have appointed him, but now he's here. I think he surprised me with how well he's done. I think he just needs a bit more backing in the transfer market. And I think the fans will be right behind him.
Yeah, I think he's under pressure now to get a trophy and mount a genuine title challenge. And you mentioned Sancho there. His goals and assist record in the Bundesliga is phenomenal. And we've all seen him play at least a few times, and he looks fantastic, skillful young talent. What are your expectations of him this season?
Yeah, I think I've had this discussion a few times. I mean, when you looked at the three players, we were linked with the three biggest players at the time, because United get linked with everyone, but Sancho, Kane and Haaland wouldn't have turned any of them down, to be honest with you, on the playing side of it. I felt with Haaland, and if we end up signing him, I might change him, but I think that he comes with a lot. I think he comes with baggage. I think they'll give us maybe not his fault. Maybe he doesn't. Maybe he caught set a bit. But some of the pictures you see on social media of him with his extravagant ways, and I think that when things aren't going well, with the likes of Lingard and Pogba are big examples. In the modern world, fans don't want to see somebody jotting around on private jets. We know they do it, but they don't want to see people walking around with $2,000 suits on private jets. And I think that being at Man United, whoever you are, you're going to have newspapers following you everywhere because it's the biggest club in the world. As a player, I think Sancho is absolutely brilliant. I think Haaland is brilliant, and I think Kane would be good in any top team. I mean, he's not in a top team at Tottenham. Kane probably gives you less baggage of the three, to be honest with you. He seems like a settled, down-to-earth guy. Not saying he's the best, but I say he wouldn't be a bad signing, but I don't think we're going to get Kane. I think Sancho, I've only seen him play a few times properly, and he's looked good. He's not always looked good. Sometimes he's not been in a game. But I take comfort in a few reports I've read from German journalists and from a couple of Dortmund fans who say they've seen some players and he's in the top bracket. So yeah, I think that'll do for me. And so it's thinking, I think we've got. You need a bigger squad nowadays. You need to be able to rotate it, as we've seen it in all the clubs now. I think it'll be a starter, obviously, but I just think that we need. I think he's someone who can create chances and score goals. and run at people. And that's what United like, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. He'll definitely get people off their seats, and I hope he really can produce it. We've seen some players that come to Old Trafford, they freeze, and then other players like Fernandez just hits the ground running straight away, don't they?
Yeah, they do. There's lots of good players who've frozen. It's not worked from. You could go back to when I was a kid and we signed Gary Bales from Forest, and I spoke to some teammates of his down the years, and they said that he joined United. I think he didn't score till about, I think it was October. He started at the start of the season in August, and he was prolific before at Nottingham Forest. Signed him for over £1 million, and the jokes going around. He was a famous American hostages were taken hostage on a plane for about 300 days, whatever. And the joke going around at the time when I was a kid was when the hostages got off the plane, the first thing they said was, "Has Boyle scored for United yet?" Because he just couldn't score, right? And when he scored against Swansea in 1980, he scored in everyone said it was like a JFK moment. You knew where you were when Boyle scored for United. And there's a university at Manchester, Sanson, part of Manchester University, and he used to say that it was named after Boyle's because the headlines are UMISIST, Humist. He used to say they named after Gary Bales. But what I was saying was that the players said that in training, he was doing bicycle kicks, he was doing top corner, he was heading them in, he was shooting, he was confident, and then he got onto the pitch in front of 50,000 people, and he froze. He just couldn't, when he did score, he often scored a little scuff, and then it was just, he did a couple of seasons, and never really happened for Gary Bales. He scored a few goals, and the crowd really, to be fair, tried to support him. And then in the summer, a couple of seasons later, it came as a surprise to his teammates because everyone thought he was just turning the corner. He was looking good in training, looking sharp, and he was looking forward to the new season. Anyway, unknown to the players, wasn't like it was now with the press. Forest came back in and offered United were going to take a loss on him. Went back to Forest, banging the goals in straight away. And he's not the only one. I mean, Diego Forlan's a good example, isn't he? I mean, I know everyone sings his name, Diego, and all that, but the truth is, Diego was better after he left United than when he was at United. I love Diego Forlan, great person. We'll have the memories of the Liverpool and the Chelsea goals, amongst other things, right? But Diego froze a bit at United. He just got harder and harder, and it can get that way. I mean, you could say the same for Sanchez. Obviously, he wasn't playing in a very good team, really, but in lots of ways, it didn't happen for Sanchez. So I'm not sure. I think this team is better to go into. I think it's got a winning mentality more. He's not necessarily coming into they're not saying you come in and you've got to change everything and you've got to be the he's going to be part of a team. He's going to add to a team rather than trying to transform a team. Yeah, we hope he can take us to a higher level, but we're not asking him necessarily to be the saviour. There's players in there already, there's match winners and there's game changers already.
Yeah, one player who certainly has not frozen at Old Trafford since his arrival is Edison Cavani, and he's already a cult hero among the supporters. How much are you looking forward to being there at Old Trafford in front of a full crowd, watching him score in front of the Stratford end?
Definitely, because obviously I sit down at Stratford nowadays, and it was great that he scored against Fulham. It really was, but a disappointing game in the end. He petered out a bit like the end of the season. But I think everyone sort of accepted that when he was playing for United, some of those goals he scored, and I was actually looking forward to that game against Fulham, and I did enjoy it. I was looking forward to watching the game more for his movement because he's a proper centre forward, and that's what Ollie was realising. Like with Zlatan, we should sign him years earlier. But I love watching. I was going there, just watching him off the ball, watching where he moves to, watching. And I think that's what a load of people have said without repeating it. But he deserves to play to a full house. I mean, imagine him scoring in a big game at Old Trafford, a really big game, like a Liverpool game or a City game or whatever. It'd take the roof off, wouldn't it? I mean, he'd take the roof off whoever he scored against. But the bigger the game, obviously, the more. And I just think it'd be good if he could get a good season or two, you know, at least one season, maybe two, because I think he deserves it. And yeah, he's been let's be honest, most of us were cynical. Most of us thought typical United getting a cheap deal, a stopgap, like Agalu and all that. But I think he's been great, and I think he's been great for the younger lads to learn off. I think he's been lucky. I think it's still been a bit of a lucky signing because there wasn't much available. But you still got to say hats off to him, and I can't wait to see him in a full house.
Yeah, he's definitely exceeded my expectations. I had no idea about his work rate, but how much he chases back and his movement. I knew that he was a good striker, but I didn't know just how hard he works off the ball, and all the fans love that.
Exactly. They want to see a player putting a shift in, and that's what he certainly does. I mean, it's like when you have like someone like Berbatov. I love Berbatov, but a lot of people still got good memories of him. And they always mention a Liverpool hat trick. I know, and it was a good hat trick, but it was against an average Liverpool team. And I love Berbatov as a person and all that since. But Berbatov didn't help himself because of his style. When it wasn't going well, Berbatov looked lazy. He wasn't necessarily lazy, but he looked like, you know, can't be. Like when he missed that penalty in the semi-final against Everton, it looked like he just walked up like couldn't be bothered. It's just his natural way. If it goes in, it looks great. And I think that's the problem sometimes. People look at players and it looks like they're not really putting a shift in. Some of them are. But I think Berbatov did put shifts in, but I just think that he had the bit of a look of the drop in the shoulder, like he couldn't be bothered. And I don't think that was the case. I just think it gives that impression. And when you've got fans who just get easily, you know, most football fans of all clubs, including United, are fickle, and they will turn on it. You know, the quick to pay. I mean, I remember being a kid, and you know, or being a bit like just turn the teenager. You really old blokes in the stand going, bloody rogue, you bloody useless Robson. Yeah, pathetic statement thing. You're rubbish one. You're thinking, like, this been the guy that's carried us all season. He's done one bad pass, and they're calling it, and that's so it's not a new thing. I think there's a lot more. I think the difference is nowadays is rather than having the odd old bloke in the stand in the seats where everyone would laugh and he says it, or you know, he'd shout at Fergie, get him off. I think the difference is now you've got all these people ranting on social media to get attention and that, rather than just someone having a bit of it, letting the mind blowing a bit of hair off at the game on a Saturday. You're getting people just wanting to do it for dramatic effect, really now. But I think that Cavani's work rate is absolutely, it looks brilliant. And we've got a team who put in a shift now most of the time. You know, you've got all across the park, really. You've got Shaw, you've got McTominay, you've got, you know, when James comes on, you know, people, you know, James might not be the superstar people want, but I mean, he gets clattered so much sometimes. What was the game where was it the Leeds game where he got booked for diving when he got cracked the Leeds home game? Maybe the ref was feeling sorry because we were battering him, but or was it Liverpool? I think it might have been Liverpool, and he ran through. It was Liverpool or Leeds, definitely one of them two. And James got checked out, and the ref booked him as if he dived. And I thought, but yes, you can see in the replay, he physically got. But you've quite a few games where they realise it's a bit like when Fergie used to play Park against Arsenal, sometimes Chelsea. He had a really good effect. Certain players, you think, I'll play them against that team. And James, Ollie, and Kieran, and Macfield, and Carrick, they know certain games where James, his pace, he's going to go at him and, you know, just keep running at him and all that. And I think, you know, he's maybe if we sold James, he's not going to go to Real Madrid or Barcelona, but I like him. I think he's an hard-working lad who's improving, and I think my point being that we're off the eyes is we've got players who are prepared to put a shift in, and okay, yeah, they're all well paid, but it's good to see, really.
Yeah, definitely. There's a couple there who you could argue don't put a shift in, Paul Pogba and Anthony Martial. What is your opinion on those two players?
you see the good. The thing is with Pogba, there's no doubt how much ability he's got. I thought that when he was his agent, who is certainly bad news, and he should be. I think personally, Pogba should have come out and distanced himself from his agent's comments when they were start of last season or midway through, whatever. I thought the writing was on the wall really. Then I thought he was obviously going, and then he's just like, and he's all sorts of conspiracy theory views, because when his agents touted him around, people say no one wanted him and paid that wages, and then he just turned it around and he started playing some brilliant football, and he looked like he wanted to know, and everyone, the Paul Pogba, when the ability he's got when he's at his best, people would take him all day long. The difference when all these fanboys go on the internet and say, no, this and that, and he's won the World Cup and he's won this for you, babe. The difference being is that Brian Robson, as a player, would lift the team when he needed lifting. He'd grab them and he'd bring them out of a dire game. And he was a true world-class midfield in particular, drags the team and carries them to the next level. He doesn't just play well now and again. He plays well when the team needs lifting. And as much as I dislike him as a person, Gerrard was the same. Gerrard was like a Robson, not as good as Robson in my opinion, but the truth was Gerrard carried sometimes average Liverpool teams, and he changed games like that horrible night in 2005 and the year after in the cup final, and even he changed key games for him. And Robson did the same for United, and Keane would do it for United. Keane, in fairness, often played in better teams, but he still did it when they weren't performing. Keane would be turning around and he'd be getting the best out of his own players. He'd push his own players if he had to. And I don't see that in Pogba. And in the first couple of seasons, you could literally count on one hand the amount of good games he'd had. I'd love it to work out, I'd love him to stay, but it just seems a bit inconsistent, if I'm being honest, yeah. Martial, I like Tony Martial. Met him a few times, a lovely guy, friendly guy. Got back to ability, but sometimes I question whether he likes playing football, not playing for United. I just don't know whether he actually enjoys it. Sounds ridiculous, probably enjoys perks coming and money, but it sometimes looks like, and I've heard other people say it as well, people who've been like press who've been round when he's going into the ground or about to play a big game, and looks like as if, here we go again, like someone's going into work in a factory on a 12-hour shift for minimum pay. I think you're going to play for probably the biggest club in the world in a game, whoever we're playing. If we're playing bloody Burton Albion in the League Cup, you're still going to play in front of 50, 60,000 people. So I don't doubt either that. I know some people don't rate Martial. I rate him as a player. I think he's got immense skill. Again, it's not consistent. It's too on and off. You just think, and a bit like, he's probably got a bit of the Berbatov about him as well. It looks like he's not interested. And it carries along that way. I think that's why fans get on his back, because it looks like he's not interested. Maybe I'm not expecting a player to be smiling all the time and going, hey, kissing the shirt, because that can be false anyway. But I think what you want is someone like with the attitude of Bruno, of Shaw, of McTominay, Cavani, of someone who's actually given it all. And if you don't succeed, they're putting the shift in. So I think that's sort of the problem really is with Pogba and Martial.
Yeah, they're they have enormous ability, both of them, but like you say, their form's a bit on and off. So I wouldn't really be that sad if one or both of them left. Um, Even though it would be disappointing that they didn't make it at Old Trafford, but I don't. I think they're going to be inconsistent always. I don't see that changing because they've both of them have been at Old Trafford for 5 or 6 years now, and it's always been the same. They go through spells of fantastic form, and then they go through spells of just doing nothing. And Pogba is just we seen the Roy Keane pointed out there on ITV during the France Switzerland game. Seen the best and worst, the worst of Pogba in that game. Fantastic passes, unbelievable goal, and a lack of discipline then for one of the Switzerland equaliser at the end there. That was just summed them up really, didn't it?
Yeah, it did, and all it was quite poignant, really. That maybe that it wasn't just Pogba's fault that night, but the French team had a bit of that feeling about them, didn't they? When they went 3-1 up, it was a fantastic goal, but they were almost celebrating the qualification. You know, like, oh yeah, well, you know, let's just have a bit of a pose on the floor. We're 3-1 up. We're not going to lose this. And I think that sort of spurred on the opposition. A bit like in the new camp in '99, when Mateus was going off, love Mateus, and he was taking his time going off and clapping to the crowd. And they thought like, and United subs particularly were looking like, and the United players thinking, it's not over yet, this. So, and I think the Swiss players must have got a bit of that vibe as well, you know what I mean? But yeah, I think Keane's not usually wrong with his criticisms of the players, and he's, you know, he knows that. Yeah, he was quite critical about the way he thought he got Mourinho sacked. You know, someone going through the motions, and again, you know, they've got the power sometimes. If the players don't perform, the manager's going to take the hit. And there was obviously the stand-up point where it looked like the big fallout between Mourinho and Pogba. It was him or one or the other, really. It was a dangerous road to go down. And you could say that Pogba won that battle. But the bigger battle is really is convincing the fans that you're there for the right reasons and for the long term. And if we're being honest, no one's not trying to sit on the fence, but you would say that Pogba's second spell at United has had some great moments, but there's not been enough of them.
No, definitely not. One of the greatest moments was his double away to City, but we haven't seen that often enough. The back end of last season, he did have some brilliant form, a lot of good games in there, but again, he went missing in the Europa League final.
Yeah, it was strange, really. I think that the only thing I could take from that final was it glad we didn't lose to an English team, but I wouldn't have thought the players would have got to relax, but you just maybe sensed they thought they'd done the hard bit by getting there. And I felt quite good in the first 15 minutes. I thought we knocked it about a bit, and then I don't know. And then I think when we equalised, we had that 5 minutes where we were going at them. But the longer the game went on, and they weren't a great side, really. I think that's the annoying thing. Somebody said to me at the airport coming back, no disrespect to say Burnley or Southampton, but we basically just lost to Burnley or Southampton and Spain. Do you know what I mean? That's what, they're not like a team that was knocking on the door for the champion to win the league last season. We came second in our league and they were way off. But a few players didn't perform that night, did they? You know what I mean? It was just, but yeah, you're right. That's the sort of game where a midfielder who's a world-class midfielder like Keane, like Robson, like Gerrard would lift the team and grab them through and say, "Come on, we're better than this. We can do this." And it didn't happen, did it?
No, it didn't. There was a lot of players that turned up that night. I think Cavani did, McTominay definitely did, but most of them kind of froze that night. It was very, very disappointing, like you say. But we have to move on for it. Let's be positive. There's a new season coming up. One of the things I want to talk to you about is that your son is called Georgie. I'm guessing you named him after Bestie. Did you get to see Best play in the flesh?
No, I didn't actually, because George retired. My first game, I was only 4 years old for my first game in November 74, but he'd already retired by then. So the Holy Trinity had all retired. You know, Dennis left. Dennis left the season before, but because he was at City for 73, 74 season. My first game was 74, 75 season. Bobby retired in 73, and George had gone AWOL and left then. So I didn't see him play. No, I met him several times, and I was actually at George's 50th birthday party in London. It was there was a night on BBC television dedicated to George Best being 50 in 1996. It's like a 3-hour show. It's probably on YouTube. And I was asked to choose one of the goals, and I chose the goal, the famous Sheffield United goal, as my favourite one. And that night, I was at a function the supporters do at Old Trafford for IMUSA, Independent Sports Association. And Paddy Crown, a friend of mine, was there. And we're just chatting about it. And he goes, we mentioned the George Best night being on telly that night. And he said he was going to George's 50th on London on a Wednesday. So I said, I might come down. Paddy, where's it at? So he told me. And he said to me, if you come down, I'll make sure you get in. But he obviously thought it was just beer talking. And I wasn't working at the time. And so on the Wednesday, me and about 3 mates went down from Manchester, and 2 met us in London. And we got to this dead posh venue outside. And they were all getting out of the taxis, like Jimmy Tarbuck and Barry McGuigan and people like that. And I shouted, Paddy, Paddy. And he looked round, Paddy Crown, and half his face was like smiling, and the other half was like, oh, for cheeky sods turned up as well. So I said, Paddy, and he goes, wait there. And he went inside, and he come back with these 5 little badges, like pin badges. And they were like the passes to get in. And he'd got them off different players from like George's teammates. And we got in this place called Football in Central London, a restaurant. And we were upstairs, and like Zoe Ball was there, and Frankie Fraser, the old East End gangster, made it crazy, Barry Wigan, and we just had a really good night. And we met George, and we met all the players from that era, and again, and met some before. And we had free drinks and food all night. And so everyone can say they went to George Best's 50th birthday party, can they?
No, they can't. Definitely not. And not everyone can say that they're friends with the king, Eric Cantona. I mean, how did that come about?
Sort of like just it was a bit of just a fan originally. Met him in a hotel in Budapest when he was at United in '93, and obviously I made several songs up. But what was funny was there's a pub where he recently visited in Manchester called the Pebble and the Peak. He was pictured in the pub recently, and it was quite an unusual pub because it's a proper traditional pub run by an old Irish woman who's in the 90s now, Nancy. And it's got a table football game, like the old bar football game in the vault downstairs. But when we used to go to games on the home game, the landlord's a United fan. He used to get his accordion out when he had a few drinks, and we'd sing United songs with his accordion. You know, like Mal singing like a lock-in and that. And I was about to record my first album, my first tape of songs, which Eric had a few songs on, obviously. And we'd agreed to, we'd never done it before going into a studio. It wasn't like it is now, you can just record it in your bedroom. You had to do it in studios, for the music studio. So I was booking this studio out, and I'd never done it before, that sort of thing. I'd written songs, but I'd never recorded them onto like a proper like tape. So I went to the pub on a Tuesday night, and it was dead quiet in Manchester in those days on Tuesday nights. It was ghost time. And we was upstairs in the pub rehearsing these songs. And then Nancy, the landlord, came up and went, landlady, and she says, boys, there's somebody downstairs you might want to see. We went, yeah, right. You know, come down now. So he goes downstairs, and Morris with his accordion, and me with these lyrics in my hand, and Eric's playing table football like Tuesday night. There was no one in the pub. And so I sat down, and I know obviously they're confident and not shy. And I was like, they're quiet like that. And the guy behind the bar couldn't believe it, me being quiet. And he went, boy, Eric, he writes songs about you. And Eric goes, do you? Well, yeah. I had the lyrics in my hands, you heard again. Bizarre. So one of Eric's friends, a French guy who we're still friends with, Claude, his brother played for Marseille with Eric, and he played for France. He famously headbutted Stuart Pearce once. He's called Basil Boller. And he joined Rangers a few years in the 90s. And he used to do he was a Catholic, he used to do that. Didn't like the Rangers fans, didn't like that. He used to come out and do that. But Claude Bolly was doing a master's at Manchester University, and he was doing his special assignment on Eric and on his brother. So he took my details and said, could you come and meet me at my flat? Because he wanted to use my songs in his dissertation. So, yeah. So that started the friendship. So then when I was releasing the single around the time Eric was in court, and I didn't want to annoy Eric or make him feel, so I wanted permission, just not rather than just releasing it. And Eric was getting quite big on the copyright stuff about his name, but Eric's just said Pete can do what he wants, no problem. And I think it's got to that stage where I met him several times the first few years, and then whenever he was in Manchester, when he stopped playing, his brother and his agent used to just contact me and say, "Oh, Eric's going to be around, so we'll just meet up." I'm not we don't go out socially loads of times or anything, but usually when he's in Manchester, we meet up. And then I was fortunate enough to persuade him to come to Norway a couple of years ago, and probably the most perfect weekend, really. Thursday we got to Norway. Thursday night we picked up Eric from the airport, 2-hour drive, me, Eric and his two brothers, a couple of Norwegian friends in this 20-seater coach, sat there just drinking and chatting and laughing and joking. And then we went back, and then on the Saturday we went on a boat, like a speedboat, on a 1.5 hours down the Norwegian fjords. Eric was driving for a bit, and steering the boat. And we just had a great time. And then it culminated on the Saturday night, 300 guests in a hotel, and I interviewed Eric on stage, and it was all perfect. So I've seen him a couple of times since. But I've been lucky really, because he's obviously my idol. But I've been lucky, not just putting other players down. At the end of the day, I'm just a fan, and I like to have a bit of a laugh on social media with posting a few pictures and that. But I'm a fan at the end of the day, and I'm buzzing that I can call people like Eric and Brian McClare and David May and Norman Whiteside and Jimmy Greenough and Alex Stepney, all idols of mine at some stage, and I can see them all as friends. So it's a bit pinch your finger really sometimes, and it pinches yourself a bit. But funny thing is, the first few times that I met Eric or Fergie, it was a bit like going on a date with someone you really fancy when you're 16 to 18. Because when they said hello Pete, I used to go hello. Confident to go. Now after a bit, I just got cooler with it, you know what I mean? Even if I was still quite nervous. But it's I'm not done too bad really.
Oh, definitely not. It'd be an absolute privilege to meet one of those guys. Norman Whiteside is another one. He's obviously from my part of the world, as you can tell by the accent. He was a fantastic player in the 80s for United, although his career was cut short through injury, obviously. What's he like as a person?
Norman's one of the funniest. Norman was a warrior on the pitch, and he's a really, really nice person off it. But when I was growing up, I used to think if I met Norman, I'd be really scared in his company, because he perhaps has got people maybe think he could be quite aggressive, and he's not, soft. But what I'm saying with Norman is once Norman gets to know you and he trusts somebody in conversation, he's very open and relaxing and funny and sound bites, and we have a lot of, we're WhatsApping each other all the time. Even today, a couple of times today, we WhatsApp each other, a couple of gags, whatever, we have a laugh, and we love chatting about his career sometimes. We just we'll talk about something. I might send him an old photograph and he'll send me an old photograph. But he's a proper warrior as a person, and he deserves so much more from his career for what, for the age he retired. And you think about it, had he stayed injury-free a couple of years, and had he not left, had he persuaded, whatever reason, Fergie not sold him, he could have been, he still was young enough to be part of that title-winning teams with Robson, and he could have been playing with Eric. Imagine Eric and imagine Eric Keane and Norman in the team would have been something that. And I think that you've got to say, when I used to, I've done a few Q&As with Brian McClare down the years, and sometimes Brian's been asked the question a few times from the audience, Brian, you play with both, who's better, Robson or Keane? And Brian turned around and said, Whiteside. And that's such a big accolade. And Norman and Brian didn't play together that much, but Brian saw a lot in those couple of years that Whiteside was like, he really did. He really rates Norman Whiteside. And yeah, and he, like I said, as a person, I can't knock him and his wife are just beautiful people who full life and soul of the party. I've been privileged to go away with Norman a few times to be in his company in Norway, and sat on one of my best trips really a few years ago. We sat on a plane, me, Norman and Robbo in 3 seats at the front. Doesn't get much better than that really, does it? On the way there and on the way back, we had some good conversations, and that was proper pinch yourself material. We had a good laugh. But yeah, Norman is a great. He's a proper, what you call a United legend. The word legend is sometimes bandied about, but Norman's up there with the legends as a person and as a player. And maybe not as a singer, but sorry about that, Norman.
Yeah, there must be occasions in your life where you're pinching yourself thinking, is this really happening?
Yeah, it is really. It can be like that, but and people often used to say to me, which of the players you've met and you've I've not been nice, and not to say it, but I've not really come across that situation. I mean, there's some players who are more comfortable with being in the company of the fans. And, I know, and you got to understand anybody can catch anybody on a bad day. Yeah, anybody could say, you're going to read somewhere, someone say, I once approached X player, and they told me, no, they're not sending an autograph. I met someone at an airport, and someone was in a restaurant. I said, "Come, lad, have a photograph," and he said, "No." And yeah, okay, but I suppose it's that you could say they get paid a lot of money, but most of all those people, when people have mentioned it, I'm not defending that one situation, but I know the fact that I've seen the complete opposite of him. You know what I mean? I've seen him just be accommodating all the time. And suppose if you get paid a lot of money, you've got to take it. But sometimes it's nice if you're in a restaurant and you want to have a meal, you don't want to. I mean, I've been in I've actually was in hotel football about 6 years ago, and Gary Neville was actually clearly having a meeting at a table, and a guy came over and asked. He was a grown-up man, and he asked for a selfie. Sorry, can I have a selfie, please? And Gary went, and he was a bit stunned because he was actually clearly in deep conversation. He had the laptops out and they were talking, and he went. So he did it. But I thought, come on, there's a time and place. You know what I mean? So if that had happened a few more times, and if someone said, "Look, I'm really sorry to bother you. I know you have to see you busy, but I'm not going to see you again. I'm going to get a plane, or maybe." But it was just it was just not the moment for it. So yeah, I've been very lucky. But the only thing I would say is that the people, to me, most players accept they've got a privileged lifestyle. They've been very lucky to make a living out of football, and most people are accommodating. So I'll leave it at that, really.
Well, something else I wanted to ask you about was something I seen on Twitter the other day that at Wimbledon once you streaked. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, I'm not ashamed of it. Yeah, basically, I honestly sound daft because I've seen us win a league so many times, but it looked like we bottled it again. When I was a kid, Dad used to say, well, if you win that league, that's the main one. And we nearly won it when I was about 7. And then when I was about 10, we came, runners up to Liverpool by about 2 points. And then we just always used to come in the top 4, but that wasn't good enough for United. We weren't very close. And then after we won the cup in '85 and Whiteside scored, start of the next season, we won the first 10 games, league games. And we said, this is it now. This is going to be United. And we ended up like blowing it and coming fourth. Liverpool won the double. And then Fergie took over. And although we came second in his second season, we were so far away from Liverpool. It was like when we came second in the City in the Marina, we were miles away. But then in '91, after we won the Cup Winners' Cup, and we started to build. There was Liverpool weren't as good as they were. And it was just a bit of a gap in the market there. Probably a bit like when Leicester won it, And I thought we were going to win the league, and we were so far. We looked like we were finally going to do it. And then we just, we had loads of reasons, but we had about 5 games in about 8 days, and we didn't have a squad like we do now, and we blew it. And in the summer, that summer in Manchester, in this Corbières in Manchester, I was pretty desolate. I just thought, desolate's not the word, that's lonely. I was pretty desperate and down, and thinking we're never going to win a league in my lifetime. We're just not going to do it. And my mates go, no, we will do. We're getting there. I said, no, we're just going to keep bottling it every time we get close. And I said, if we win the league, I will show my arse at the last game of the season. So roll on. 12 months later, went right. Wimbledon away. That's when we'll do it. So I was laughing, not really knowing what I was serious. I'm like, no, I'll do it. We went down to Wimbledon, stayed overnight, and then we just went to the pub, had a sing song, got to the game. Just 4 half time, went right, lads. Started taking my stuff off. Went in the carrier bag, and he starts putting the stuff in the carrier bag. And apparently, I'd had a few drinks, but apparently I stood there like completely naked with my arms folded for about 2 minutes, chatting about the game. And then I went, right. I was behind the goal, and the couple was looking the other way. I just sprinted in. I still remember it now. That was like 28 years ago. I can remember it like it was like last week. And I sprinted on the pitch, and everyone cheered, and I ran up the pitch, and the stewards come on. I wasn't really fat, but I was carrying a bit of weight. But next thing everyone cheered, and then I ran straight to the opposite from this end. I went right to the opposite penalty box, spun round, and there was about 5 of them trying to catch me. I was cheering, and I kept running and running. And then I got to about the centre circle, and I thought, I don't want to get rugby tackled, so I'll just give up then. And then they wrapped a flag around me. So when I threw a flag, and they wrapped a flag, you've seen the picture on Twitter. I got led away, and then I got put in a paper soon. And apparently, a few months later, a Chelsea fan did it, got fined £1,000 somewhere in London. But I didn't get fined at all. The coppers were all right that day. They wrote on the wall, they put like the names using each cell, and they wrote stripper. And they went, which one's the stripper in? And I went, streaker, not stripper. And they were like laughing because, anyway, when they interviewed me, I just said, look, I got carried away because we won the league. My clothes just fell off, and someone pushed me on the pitch. And they were laughing. And they went, we know that's not true, but we're going to give you a caution, but you don't do it again. I said, I won't do it again. I'm not going to do it again. And they just let me go. And they let me go off about 3 hours later. And my mates turned up to the police station with a bag of clothes. And one of the coppers went, oh, you Bowley's mates? We're like, oh, he's made an impression already. So, yeah, that was it. So I'm a man of my word, so I stuck to it.
You got a man, principled man. That's an amazing story. It's one to tell the grandkids anyway.
Yeah.
So you are the principal songwriter for at Old Trafford. All the songs I grew up on, like the Neville chant, the Vidic chant, Diego Forlan. Do you make those all up yourself?
Well, down the years, there's been lots of people who made different songs up for me. The standout ones like the Neville chant and the Cantona, O'Shea, Hello, Chelsea Success. I had 10 albums out, and each album of songs had about average of 40 songs on. And on each one, there was at least 20 of mine, at least half of each seat were mine. I gave credit to other people where I could, if I knew who'd done it. I had other mates who wrote songs, and I'd always try and get going a song. If a song's original, I don't mind getting it going. And people used to sometimes say, oh, I didn't sing a song, it's not mine. It's just nonsense. I don't like to. Some songs are generic, like Always Look on the Bright Side of Life, We Shall Not Be Moved, or When the Reds, or Something to Go West. What Eric had, people sing it. But certain things, we're better than that. We like to be a bit more original. If other teams copy you, that's okay. But, you get like, I get wound up when we just seem content to copy songs nowadays, Like in recent years, the ones that have really wound me up, say recent years, this is about 13 years ago, 2008, singing Owen Hargreaves, You Are the Love of My Life. Now, the fact was, it was a West Ham song about Christian Daly. Word for word, they just changed it to Owen Hargreaves. That's all they said, that's all the bit they changed, right? So everyone was laughing and singing it, and I'm thinking, it's just a bit poor. West Ham have got about 3 songs, and we're copying one of them. And worse than that, Arsenal copied it off West Ham for Freddie Ljungberg. So Arsenal, with probably the worst ever set a songbook in history, going back to when I was a baby, and we're copying Arsenal as well. I thought, are we that bad? And that's nothing to do with not because it's not my song. It's because people, and then you get the state, and the other one that really winds me up is this, and it's almost become an anthem now. Is that From the Banks of the Air? Well, it's Crystal Palace introduced that tune to English football. And we played them in a cup final, and they're singing it, and we're singing it. I think, well, they sing it first. Now, sometimes you react to another team singing, you might throw it back at them like Blue Moon. You start singing too soon and things like that. You laugh at it back and all that. Vieira, because Arsenal sang for Vieira originally. He came from Senegal. He scored for Arsenal. We threw it back brilliantly with the Giggsy song, obviously. But that's a reaction. But then you hear people a couple of years ago copying the Liverpool, I know Liverpool copied it off European teams, but the LA song, and people are all singing it on videos on YouTube and thinking, it's associated with Liverpool, for God's sake. So I hate those songs, and it's nothing to do because any song that is original and I don't make it up, I will sing it wholeheartedly. I just think that we're better than copying teams. That's what I think. I think these people there's been things copied for years. Some people, you could say we copied Glory because it was originally Tottenham, right? But I just think in modern times we've got a reputation of us leading the way, and that From Banks of the Air, what winds me up as well about that is that the perfectly good old song from when I was a kid is they've took the lyrics out of it. So if like we get up in the ground in the Stretford End or in K-Stand and we sing From the Banks of the River well to the shores of Sicily we will fight, people will sing it, but it'll fade out quite soon. But within about a minute they'll all start singing the Palace version, and it's as if that's the proper version. And I just think, Jesus Christ. And maybe I should get out more, I should get wound up about it, but I'm passionate about United song culture, so that's why I get annoyed. And what I really hate is when people say, doesn't matter, as long as we're singing, we're making it loud. But like the new TRA section has been brilliant. I love it. It's developed so much, like I hoped it would do. And the atmosphere has been really, really good. But then I think, but why are we singing? Why are we singing the Palace? But all the songs we've got in our great songbook, if we just sung them slower and we all sung them, it'd be brilliant. And I want people to make new songs up. We can't just sing about Yapstam, about John O'Shea, about Eric and about George Best. There's a time and place for that. We should be singing about the current players, but just trying to have a bit more originality. I'm not expecting everything to be like, oh, wow, that's a cool, brilliant song. But let's not copy Crystal Palace or Liverpool, for God's sake.
We copied Arsenal, didn't we, when it came to the Van Persie chant? It was very simple, but we took it straight off them, didn't we?
Well, yeah, I mean, there's quite a few clubs just singing that at the time. It was just a bit poor, yeah. And I think the internet's not always a good thing for it, I mean, because not many, the real proper songs get taken, they do actually. There's probably been the Yalazai song and this Latan song that took off over the internet really good. But the trouble with a lot of the songs is people come down to suggest good songs. But then what happens is people start amending it and saying, the second line should be this, second line should be that. Or people just mock it straight away and sometimes people will say, oh yeah, we had this great song, Yeah, and you get 10 people singing it on a video, and they claim it's a proper terrorist song, and it's not. I don't know. I mean, I just think that, you know, people say, you know, about song for Sancho. I say, well, I'm 51 years old now. If summer comes in my head, I will do. But it's a young person. You know, I don't want to be on a table singing anymore. I'll sing in the ground. But if something comes in my head for any player, I'll probably like do it in the bar or do it in the ground, you know, with the Stretford End lads and try and get it going. But I'm not forcing myself to try and feel I've got to do it anymore. I want, you know, these other people can write songs, some other people have written some good songs. But I just cringe because I don't want to be the person who's not singing at a game. And my lad loves like, my lad Georgie loves like winding me up to him, goes, oh, sings the Palace one of that, you know. And if the whole crowd are singing, I don't want to not be singing, but I'm reluctant to sing things like that. Again, purely because I just think they're so naff and unoriginal. I don't even really like the United chant that took off in the last 10 years. I know it sounds a bit, you know, like United. I just don't know. I just think, you know, maybe I'm not with modern times, but I like the traditional, United. I like that more than United. But, you know, it just seems to be the way now, doesn't it? You know what I mean? I mean, that's not as bad as the other ones I mentioned, but, you know, like the copy of the chants. But I do prefer the old traditional, slow United hand clap, you know.
The Wayne Rooney chant, that was an original one, is it? I think so, anyway.
It wasn't my song. It was. It's a bit of a question mark, that one. I mean, because I think it was. I'm not sure, like the Harry Maguire one, which I think is a bit cringe review as well. I'm not sure whether that was an England song first, to be honest with you. I don't think Everton sung it, because Everton only have a handful of songs, but I'm pretty sure England sung the Wayne Rooney song first, and it just took off. And then, you know, nowadays, if like Scotland had a brilliant song, McTominay, and I can probably see United fans singing it, but we shouldn't really be singing it. That's a Scotland song, you know, like the Maguire one is a shit England song. We should be making our own songs up. The Rooney one was simple because it was, you know, I didn't dislike the chant, but I'd rather if it was a United original, you know. I had another good song for Rooney actually, which it was sung on. It was always sung on the coaches and in the pub, and we even sung it on stage in front of 200 people in Norway once, and it was that boy will score again. He wears our number 10. He's going to score. It was really good, to the tune of "Those Were the Days" by Mary Hopkins. Had about 4 verses to it. That was an original song as well, really. But I sang the Rooney song. I like the lyrics in the Rooney song, but it was just always a little bit reluctant to sing when it's not completely original. Personally, you know.
What about Bruno and Cavani? If any two players in the current squad deserve to have an original song, you know, written about them, it's them. Has there been any progress made on that?
Well, the Bruno songs took off quite well, hasn't it, really? You know, it's the tune we've used a few times, but Bruno, he goes left, he goes right. Next defenders look shy. He's a Portuguese magnifico. I mean, really, Bruno got a song. A lot of players don't get songs till they've started to do something. And I think it was the Wolves game when he made his debut, and it was at 0-0. And the crowd were already singing it. You know what I mean? Because the TRA lads had already, like, you know, they meet in town in bars and that, and it was in Barca, and they did sung that, and that was quite impressive, really. I mean, I like the tune because, you know, we sang it years ago. Follow, follow, follow. A few of us sang it for Ronnie Johnson, and then I made up the one about Chelsea's success is fucking hollow, to the same tune. And that's a good one. The Cavani one's a funny one because I think the lad on the internet, Bashir, I think he did it. I think he really made it up as a joke. He used to make up some like he made a brilliant one on, which was so calling Victor Lindelof Johnny Lindelof to the tune of the Final Countdown. Johnny Lindelof, and I love it. You know, it's just ridiculous. It's not even his name. And I love it. I used to sing it. We sing it around the house a lot, actually. And then he did the give me Edward Cavani. And I'm pretty sure he did it as his tongue in cheek, you know, did it in a camp voice. Well, but then people started singing it, and Cavani likes it. So I think really, even if you came up with a really good original song for Cavani now, or something else for Bruno, I think the ones that they've got are going to stick. I mean, you can have more than one song. I mean, Ronaldo had more than one song, and Eric certainly did, and some players have a few songs. But I think that tend to stick if it's a catchy tune. If Cavani scores at Old Trafford, you just know everyone's going to give it the Cavani other one, aren't they? You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. One final thing I want to get your opinion on while you're here is the promises that Joe Glazer has made. Obviously, the debt is still there, still a major problem, but he has promised to invest in infrastructure and on team signings. Do you really believe this?
Proof's in the pudding, really. One of the key things out of that initial statement was there was no commitment at all to not taking the dividends and all that, was there? You know what I mean? And to wipe the debt off. I think they underestimated the wrath of the fans. Probably got away. They've seen little opposition in the last 10 years or so, really. A few muted protests here and there, a few chants, a couple of banners. But I honestly thought they underestimated the fans and what they're up to, and with the Super League. And I think that it took them all by surprise. But they probably just thought, again, they've got to do something as a PR exercise. And by finally meeting in whatever way they did, and looking like they're conceding stuff, but really they haven't conceded much. And you can't knock the people who are from the fan side who are trying to meet and trying to get a dialogue. But I don't believe anything significant happened. You can give any manager money because they're not giving it money out of their own pocket. Said this all along when people were just saying, oh, we're still winning trophies, they're giving the managers the money, they're spending money. No, they're giving money to put on the debt. They've got PR people. They're going to say, yeah, we're just investing on this, we're giving that. And bizarrely, until the Super League thing, they've actually, during the start of COVID, the United as a club come out looking quite good at the start. The way they were like paying the staff fund, and there was no furloughing, and we're in the food banks, and it was pretty good considering all the things behind the debt and that. And we need a change of ownership. It goes without saying. Whether or not we're going to get one, because the club, although the club makes a lot of money, they're not going to sell unless they're going to get what they think they can milk out of it. And a lot of people who at the price we get put up for, it might be too much to make the money back for people. Because I think we're squeezing the sponsorships out at every level. You can only get so much. You can't charge people much more now. So in answer to your question, I think it's good that we finally had some dialogue, but I'm not won over by it.
No, I'm not either. It seems as if, with regards to the transfer window, things are happening quicker than usual. Just that is something, and he is having dialogue now with the fans, like you say. Clearly the pressure's been put on by the Liverpool game being postponed by the fans, and the fact that you have the likes of Sky News doorstepping them now in Miami. These are things that didn't happen in the past.
Yeah, it was. That was a massive statement. I mean, we went on the demonstration that day. I was already home that time. The match was abandoned and that, but it was a massive statement to go around the world. And and when you see some of the fans of other clubs slagging us off, and City fans are going to thought, United fans, we might have divisions with our own support, but there's nobody campaigning against owners like United. Not even Liverpool. Liverpool welcomed Gillett and Hicks initially. There wasn't a murmur against them. Every other club has been took over by dodgy owners. Nobody's lifted a finger and protested. Nobody. They've all thought, let's hope we can have a sugar daddy and steamrollers. And United, in hindsight, if we'd let Sky take over, we might be all right. But I didn't want to be taken over by Murdoch and Sky. I didn't want to be taken over by Robert Maxwell in the 80s. I don't want to be taken over by the Glazers. I don't really want to be taken over by another rich sheikh. I don't really want to be. Yeah, if a rich sheikh come in, it might be a better option, but it's not what I'm dreaming of. I'm trying to be, maybe it's a bit unrealistic, but I'd rather have a summit run with, the best would be sort of like the German model where you could have a spread out amongst, people could actually put the money in and have a say on it and have maybe half the ownership, just over half, whatever, But these people who are like begging for like a rich tycoon or Abramovich type person to take over, that's not what I want. That's just going to be another plaything for someone rich. No, I'm not into that at all. But if it happened, it happens. Yeah, I'm not saying that it wouldn't be better than what we've got, but it doesn't mean I want it. So no.
I think the dream scenario would be the 50+1 model with Gary Neville as the owner, but he doesn't have that kind of cash, obviously.
No, and he could maybe think he might have his business interests might be involved with other football club at the moment, might he really? So won't really consider that. I'd rather have somebody. I think you got to have somebody who's got a business brain rather than just someone who's sentimental towards it. You have someone as a figurehead, but you need. End of the day, it's not as easy to run a football club as people think it is. It'd be great if you could say you could have a fan-led club, but I think you need to have some people who know how to run a business. But I don't think we've seen good examples of that at United already with the current things. I don't think you've seen good examples. You've seen cleverness in maybe getting sponsorship deals for the new hair dryers from Indonesia or whatever, or sponsorships for for one of the roof tiles. That's maybe clever, but I don't think as a business all we've seen is people clever of milking the money out of it, but it's not going back. If all this money that was being brought in was being invested back into the club and not just squeezed out of profit, it'd be quite good business. So there's definitely things there, but I don't know what the solution is, but the 50+1 is definitely the way I'd rather have it going than any one single big consortium owned by like a big rich family. Not really into that.
I think Leicester have the perfect owners, in my opinion. They're very popular among supporters, and they invest in the squad. They have fantastic scouts, and when they sell players, they get good money for them. Yeah, and
they seem to have a good setup there. To be honest, I suppose with Leicester situation, I suspect them. They're punching above the weight still, with great respect to them, and they are a well-run club at the moment. But the expectancy, whatever they've done, is beyond the wildest dreams, isn't it? To win the FA Cup for the first time in history was amazing. The fact that they won the league a few years ago was like stuff fairy tales, wasn't it? I don't dislike them. I think the owners they've done brilliant for Leicester. They have done brilliant for a place like Leicester. And so you can't really knock them, but then they're one of the few examples, aren't they? They've had other clubs all around Britain have had dodgy owners, whether it's Hearts, whether it's Portsmouth, whether it's you name it, all over. There's been Birmingham, Cardiff. They've all had fair share of dodgy owners, haven't they? You know what I mean? Newcastle have got one already. So I think the biggest thing in the game has been the way that people have turned the other cheek because of money, the way they've turned and let these people who aren't fit to be owners of football clubs take over. I think that's what needs. And it's always going back to the Super League thing. People weren't protesting against the Super League because they like UEFA. UEFA's corrupt as anything. It was just because the Super League was a step too far, not because we love UEFA. I mean, the way they distribute tickets for the finals is a disgrace. The way they get the UEFA family nonsense, it's an absolute joke. The way Sky have dictated and BT, the way they've moved games to Monday night, Thursday night, Friday night, all for the TV audiences around the world. Yeah, they've put money in, but at the expense of ordinary fans. So I'm not a lover of. You probably wondering why I still go to football, aren't you? Really? Probably I'm wondering myself, but I think a lot of people have stopped going because they thought it's not for me anymore. Then one mate goes everywhere, and he's just said he's took a season ticket break this year after about 40 years, and he started saying a few years ago when they were having 12, 30 games at Portsmouth and Southampton. No, I'm not doing that. He said, I want to go out now. So he goes when it suits him now, not when it dictates it. And I respect him for it, really.
Yeah, I'll leave it there. It's been an absolute privilege having you on the show, Pete.
Thank you very much. Let me know when it's going to go on. Yeah, send me a link and that.
No problem at all. Hopefully I'll see you at Old Trafford very soon.
Take care. I've enjoyed that. Thanks a lot.